In the U.S., gunfire erupted at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade on Wednesday. One person died and at least 21 people were wounded in the mass shooting. 9 children were among those wounded. Police say they have arrested 3 suspects. The shooting took place despite heavy police presence. Some 800 law enforcement officers were present at the rally. Meanwhile, 4 high school students were shot in Atlanta City. A shooter opened fire from a vehicle into the parking lot of a school. This was shortly after the school day ended. All the victims were taken to the hospital. Reports say one woman was detained in connection with the incident. According to the Gun Violence Archive, there have been 48 mass shootings in the US so far in 2024. The Yemen-based Houthi rebel group has threatened to intensify its attacks on the Red Sea. They have threatened to do so if the US enforces its terror designation of the group. Last month, the US designated the Iran-backed Houthis as a terrorist group. It is slated to take effect from February 17th. The Houthis have repeatedly targeted commercial vessels on the Red Sea, jeopardizing commerce on the trade route. They say they have been doing it in solidarity with Palestinians over the Israel-Hamas war. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau met with Jordan's King Abdullah in Ottawa yesterday. During the meeting, Trudeau called for the release of hostages being held by Hamas and a ceasefire in Gaza. He urged Israel not to mount a ground invasion in Gaza's Rafah city. Trudeau said that an attack in Rafah would be devastating for Palestinians. 2 explosions struck a natural gas pipeline in Iran yesterday. The Iranian oil minister said that the attacks were caused by sabotage and terrorist action. However, he did not name any suspects. No group has claimed responsibility for the attacks so far. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan paid a visit to his Egyptian counterpart Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Cairo yesterday. This is Erdogan's first trip to Egypt since 2012. It marks a step towards the rebuilding of relations between the 2 countries. In a joint news conference, Erdogan said that Turkey was ready to work with Egypt to rebuild Gaza. He added that the leaders also spoke about issues in Libya, Sudan and Somalia. Ukraine has claimed that it sunk a large Russian ship in the Black Sea. The country's defense ministry released footage showing the vessel being hit by drones before it sank. Russia did not make a comment immediately after the attack. However, it had earlier said that its forces shot down 6 drones in the Black Sea. The Netherlands is joining a military coalition with some allies, including Britain. The coalition aims to supply Kyiv with advanced drone technology and bolster its offensive capabilities in the war against Russia. This comes as defense ministers of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, are due to meet in Brussels this week. The meeting is expected to revolve around military spending and aid for Ukraine. The Dutch have already provided F-16 fighter jets, artillery, ammunition, and air defense systems to Kyiv. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that his country's scientists are close to creating a cancer vaccine. He said this while speaking at a forum in Moscow on the future of technology. He added that the vaccines will soon be available to patients. However, he did not specify which types of cancer the proposed vaccines would target or how it would work. In Indonesia, Defense Minister Prabowo Subianto declared victory in the presidential election yesterday. Prabowo won nearly 60% of the vote according to early counts. Indonesia's election body has until late March to release the final results. The 2 other presidential candidates have not conceded defeat yet. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the UAE's first Hindu temple yesterday. He offered prayers and performed rituals inside the temple. This was one of the major events during his trip to the UAE. After this, the Indian PM travelled to Qatar's capital, Doha, last night. His visit to Qatar comes shortly after the country pardoned 8 former Indian Navy personnel in an alleged case of espionage. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test of a new surface-to-sea missile yesterday. He then visited a munitions factory where he called for a boost to weapon production. Pyongyang has been increasing its military preparations as tensions rise in the Korean peninsula. Hostilities between Pyongyang and Seoul have been rising since North Korea launched its first spy satellite last year. Yesterday, Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese voted in favour of a motion calling for the return of Julian Assange to Australia. Assange is the founder of the media organisation WikiLeaks. The motion comes ahead of a hearing on his extradition to the US. The hearing will be held at London's High Court next week. Assange is wanted in the US on criminal charges over WikiLeaks' release of confidential US military records. Meanwhile, Albanese has announced his engagement to Jodie Hayden. Hayden has been Albanese's partner for 4 years. Yesterday, on the occasion of Valentine's Day, he shared the news on social media with a selfie and a caption that read, "She said yes." Albanese is the first Australian leader to get engaged while in office. A dozen victims of the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein have filed a lawsuit against America's Federal Bureau of Investigation. The victims have accused the FBI of covering up its failure to investigate Epstein. This, they say, enabled Epstein's sex trafficking to continue for more than 20 years. The victims have said that the FBI received credible tips as early as 1996. However, it failed to interview victims or share what it knew with federal and local law enforcement. In climate news, employees in Thailand's Bangkok have been directed to work from home for 2 days starting today. This comes after air pollution reached hazardous levels in the capital. A layer of smoky haze blanketed Bangkok on Thursday morning. Thailand's air quality declines this time every year due to stubble burning. Oil spilled in the Caribbean Sea is moving away from Trinidad and Tobago. This has put the country's neighbours on alert. Volunteers on Tobago Island have been trying to clean the spill, which emerged from a vessel that had capsized last week. The incident affected 15 kilometres of coastline, including Tobago's pristine beaches and coral reefs. Up to 47% of the Amazon rainforest will likely be damaged by 2050. This is according to a new study published in the London-based Nature journal. The study says human activity and climate change will be the main reasons behind the Amazon's collapse. Researchers say it is high time to declare a red alert for the Amazon. Researchers have found an increase in the frequency of marine heat waves in the Arctic Ocean. A study has been published in the Nature Communications journal. It says that 11 marine heat waves have occurred in the Arctic since 2007. This has led to an increase of the ocean's average temperature by 2.2 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, nearly 15% of Americans believe that climate change is not real. This is according to a new study by Michigan University. Researchers analyzed over 7 million tweets posted between 2017 and 2019. Former US President Donald Trump emerged as one of the most famous people who thinks climate change is a hoax. On to business and tech news. Japan's economy has unexpectedly slipped into a recession. The country's GDP contracted for a second straight quarter. Official data showed that the Japanese GDP fell by 0.4% in the October to December quarter of 2023. This is lower than declining private consumption and low capital spending by firms have been blamed for the fall. Japanese chipmaker Renesas Electronics has announced the acquisition of Australian software firm Altium. The chipmaker will pay $5.9 billion to acquire the software designing firm. The deal is expected to help speed up Renesas's chip design process. Morgan Stanley is reportedly laying off hundreds of employees. The job cuts will impact around 1% of the bank's wealth management unit. This comes after the unit's revenue failed to meet market expectations in the last quarter. US firms are cutting costs amid an economic slowdown and sky-high interest rates. The market capitalization of cryptocurrency Bitcoin has surpassed the $1 trillion mark. This was after the price of the virtual coin reached over $52,000. Investment in Bitcoin has been rising in the last few weeks. This is after the US market regulator allowed the trading of Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin ETFs allow investors to trade on Bitcoin's price movement without actually buying the cryptocurrency itself. The U.S. state of Colorado has filed a lawsuit to block the merger of grocery chains Kroger and Albertsons. The state claims that the merger will lead to store closures and job losses. Kroger and Albertsons are two of Colorado's largest grocery chains. In 2022, Kroger proposed a $25 billion acquisition deal for rival Albertsons. Pharma giant Pfizer has reached a $93 million settlement in an antitrust lawsuit. In the decade-old case, Pfizer was accused of conspiring with Ranbaxy Labs. They allegedly delayed the sale of cheap generic versions of the cholesterol drug Lipitor. Pfizer has agreed to settle the case without accepting the allegations. Yesterday, former Volkswagen CEO Martin Winterkorn testified in the Dieselgate scandal for the first time. Winterkorn told a German court that he did not deceive investors about their diesel vehicles. In 2015, Volkswagen's diesel engines were caught violating emission limits. The firm used illegal software to hide actual emission levels of their diesel vehicles during testing. Winterkorn was forced to step down following the revelation. Chipmaker Nvidia has surpassed the market valuation of Google parent company Alphabet. In yesterday's stock market trading, Nvidia's market capitalization rose to $1.83 trillion. It marginally surpassed Alphabet's $1.82 trillion. The chipmaker is now the third most valuable company in the US stock exchange after Microsoft and Apple. Microsoft says that some state-backed hackers have been caught using its artificial intelligence tools. This includes affiliates of the Russian military intelligence, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, and the Chinese and North Korean governments. Microsoft said that the hackers were using OpenAI to improve their hacking skills and trick their targets. The company has now banned these state-backed groups from its AI platforms. SpaceX has changed its state of incorporation from Delaware to Texas. The move was announced by the company's CEO, Elon Musk, yesterday. The billionaire also plans to shift the state of incorporation of his electric car firm, Tesla. This comes days after a Delaware court invalidated Musk's $56 billion Tesla pay package last month. Moving to sport, let's start with cricket. Sri Lanka beat Afghanistan by 7 wickets in last night's ODI match. Afghanistan batted first and were bowled out for 266 runs in the 48th over. Rahmat Shah and Azmatullah Omarzai scored half centuries. Sri Lanka comfortably chased down the target in just the 35th over. Pathum Nisanka scored 118 runs and was awarded player of the match for his knock. Sri Lanka swept the ODI series 3-0. India's cricketing body has confirmed that Rohit Sharma will captain the team for the upcoming T20 World Cup. The announcement was made during a meeting held by top members of the Board of Control for Cricket in India, or BCCI. Meanwhile, all-rounder Hardik Pandya has been named vice-captain. The T20 World Cup begins in June. In football, Paris Saint-Germain beat Real Sociedad in last night's Champions League match. The game was scoreless in the first half. Then, striker Kylian Mbappe scored for PSG in the 58th minute. In the 70th, Bradley Barcola scored to extend the lead for the French club. The second leg between the two teams will be played on the 6th of March. Lazio upset Bayern Munich 1-0 in last night's Champions League match. Striker Harry Kane missed a simple opportunity in the 6th minute. The first half ended with the scores at 0-0. In the 65th, Bayern were reduced to 10 players after defender Dio Upamecano made a nasty tackle in the penalty box. Lazio's Ciro Immobile scored on the penalty to seal the win. The second leg between Bayern and Lazio will be played on the 6th of March. In tennis, world number 1 Iga Świątek has advanced to the Qatar Open quarter-final. Poland's Świątek beat Russia's Ekaterina Alexandrova 6-1, 6-4 in straight sets. The match lasted 1 hour and 30 minutes. Swiatek next faces Russia's Victoria Azarenka. Naomi Osaka has reached the quarterfinal for the first time in 2 years. This is because she was on maternity leave throughout the starting of September 2022 and through to 2023. Japan's Osaka was handed a walkover by Ukraine's Lesia Sorenko at the Qatar Open yesterday. The Ukrainian had to withdraw from the tournament due to an elbow injury. Osaka next faces Karolina Pliskova of the Czech Republic. Rafael Nadal has pulled out of the Qatar Open. The Spaniard says he wants to prepare for the upcoming Olympics in France. Nadal says he doesn't want to overwork his body before the Paris Games begin. This year, 37-year-old Nadal made a comeback to the sport after being sidelined throughout last year due to injuries. In badminton, the Indian women's team beat China 3-2 at the Asia Team Championships last night. Star shuttler PV Sindhu had a victorious return to court after being away for over 4 months due to an injury. Sindhu beat China's Han Yue 21-17, 21-15 in just 40 minutes. Anmol Karab and the duo of Tressa Jolly and Gayatri Gopichand won the other 2 matches. In hockey, the Indian women's team lost to the Netherlands 1-0 in the FIH Pro League match today. Despite a solid fight, India were unable to convert a series of penalty corners. World number 1, the Netherlands were worked hard to score the only goal of the match. India have now lost their 2nd consecutive game at the tournament. They lost their previous match to China on the 12th of February. Formula One team McLaren have launched their official car for this year's racing season. The car will use a power unit from Mercedes based on the deal that they have with the automaker. British driver Lando Norris and Australian Oscar Piastri will be steering McLaren in 2024. In entertainment news, Marvel Studios has unveiled the cast for their upcoming feature film adaptation of The Fantastic Four. The film features actors Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Eben Moss-Backrack. The lead role of Mr. Fantastic will be played by Pedro Pascal. According to reports, the film will be set in the 1960s. It is scheduled to release on the 25th of July next year. Actor Will Smith has been roped in to play the role of an Iraqi war veteran in the upcoming film Sugar Bandits. This high-octane action thriller is based on the book called Devils in Exile by Chuck Hogan. The story follows a team of war veterans who are on a mission to bust a drug trade ring in Boston. The film Sugar Bandits was initially announced in 2013. New stills of Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga from Joker 2 were released yesterday. The pictures captured the different moods of the film. Phoenix plays the role of Joker while Lady Gaga steps into the shoes of Harley Quinn. According to reports, the first meeting of Joker and Quinn set the film in motion. The makers of Michael Jackson's biopic have unveiled the first look at the film's lead actor, Jafar Jackson. Jafar is Michael Jackson's nephew. The first look shows Jafar in the iconic look of a man in the mirror from the 1990s Dangerous tour. Producer Graham King said Jafar embodies Michael in a way that no other actor could. The film, titled Michael, will release next year on the 18th of April. Streaming platform Netflix released a sneak peek video of the upcoming season of the hit series Bridgerton. The event happened at a hotel in London with the cast members in attendance. The video reveals that just like its previous seasons, this season too would revolve around marriages. The first part of Bridgerton Season 3 will drop on the 16th of May. Days after Usher's power-packed Super Bowl performance, the artist has now unveiled his plans to work on a TV drama series. Usher plans to use his music in the series. He expressed happiness at bringing his music to life and hopes that the series resonates with his fans. Meghan Markle has closed a deal with podcast network Lemonada Media for her podcast series Archetypes. This comes after her deal with Spotify failed to materialize. Markle's new podcast partner will distribute the season 1 of her series. The podcast network is also developing a new podcast series which will be hosted by Markle as well. Actor Simu Liu will be hosting the upcoming People's Choice Awards. Liu says that the Saturday Night Live show opened the career of hosting for him. The People's Choice Awards are scheduled to take place on the 19th of February. The organisers of the British Academy of Film and Television Arts have released the list of people who will be presenting this year's awards. The list includes names like David Beckham, Kate Blanchett, Dua Lipa, Idris Elba, Hugh Grant and Gillian Anderson. Actor Hannah Waddingham will also be performing a musical number. The star-studded award ceremony is scheduled to occur on the 18th of Feb. Britain's Queen Camilla attended a celebration of Shakespeare event in London. The highlight of the event were performances by actors Dame Judi Dench, Gary Oldman and Robert Lindsay. The actors brought several works of Shakespeare like Sonnet 116 and Hamlet to life with their acts.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.